Hi there, and welcome to this reading of the first part of my latest novel, Fred and Leah, True Life World Second World War Drama of Love, Loss, and Captivity. I have to check the title of my own book, make sure it's actually right. Um, New glasses. I can't remember if on the last reading I had these. These are meant to be unbreakable. Let's see whether that actually works out or not. So here we go. Sunday, 3rd of September, 1939, Dover, England. Fred wasn't a big fan of Bronte novels, even film versions like this, though Merle Oberon was nice enough as the leading lady. Fred looked around at the faces inside the Granada cinema. Everyone else seemed to be enjoying the film. Leah liked these types of stories, and the two of them had to make the most of whatever time they had together, with Fred leaving for France soon. Fred wasn't sure whether he was relieved or disappointed when the film was interrupted and the words, "All officers and soldiers return to your barracks," flashed up on the screen. They were stationed in Dover because Fred's battalion, the 2nd Royal Northumberland Fusiliers, was meant to be preparing for a war which, until now, had been uncertain, but which most had always felt was inevitable. Fred was tired with this perpetual preparation, and his men seemed fed up too. He was spending more and more time trying to keep his Fusiliers from getting into fights, annoying the locals, and in one case stealing a car. Sport was always the best method of occupying his men. The battalion had a strong football team with a history stretching back to the last century, and the team relished beating local teams or rival army units. Boxing was also popular, and they even managed to organize the odd horse race. Fred liked sports. He'd been a sprinter when he was younger. He didn't know anyone in the army that could run faster than him. If it hadn't been for this falling out with Hitler and Fred being in the military, he reckoned he would have given anyone in the Olympics a run for the money. You wouldn't know to look at him. He didn't look muscular. He still had his puppy fat, but that was deceiving. He was as strong as the best of them. Leah was strong too, though not a big woman, 8 stone, below average. However, it was in her personality where her true strength lay. Woe betide anyone who crossed that woman. She had her sensitive side too. She had cried that morning when Neville Chamberlain had announced on the wireless that the country had declared war, his voice so slow and solemn. The air raid sirens had gone off not long after, and everyone rushed to the shelter fearing the worst, until the wardens announced that it had been a false alarm. Fred was glad he lived in married quarters, where he could spend his evenings with Leah and support her until his battalion was mobilized. Until then, his days were spent at Connaught Barracks with his platoon of regular soldiers whom he had trained how to use the Vickers machine gun. He was glad he didn't have to try and teach a ramshackle platoon of terriers, reservists, and conscripts like some of his contemporaries he knew from his days back in India and Shanghai. As they left the cinema, Fred looked at his wife. She was disappointed that the authorities had interrupted the film, and as he led her out the cinema, he could see that after 3 months she was beginning to show. "You all right, love?" Fred asked when they got outside, knowing that she wasn't. She had a quietness about her, and that worried him. She wasn't often quiet, and when she was, it spelt trouble. He stopped to light one of his Woodbine cigarettes. It was a warm afternoon, and Fred hung their coats over one arm as they ambled along the street together. "It's just that I'm worried, Fred," she confessed. She hadn't complained about his smoking. This was serious. "About what?" he asked, trying to be nonchalant. "What do you think, you daft apath? About what's going to happen? You'll be off to war any time now, and then what's going to happen to me and Jim and—" She touched a lump in her belly. which to Fred now seemed much larger. "Don't worry, love," he said. "It'll be over by Christmas, you'll see. This Hitler's just a playground bully. You only need someone to stand up to him and give him a bloody nose." "I wish that someone wasn't you," she said, straightening her hat. "Come on," he said. "Let's get Jim from that babysitter of yours before she ruins him." Leah allowed a laugh to escape and slapped Fred on the arm for spoiling her bad mood. "Seems a shame to declare war on such a lovely day," Leah mused as they strolled along. "It's a shame to declare war on any day," said Fred. "If they didn't have wars, you'd be out of a job," she said. "Very funny." "I'm serious though, Fred," she said. "Never mind Christmas. I'm due in March, and I'm going to be by myself with Jim to look after as well. It's his birthday soon." "We've talked about this, love. Why don't you go back to Sunderland? Your sister and father are there. They'll help with Jim." "I want you, Fred." "I know, dear. I wish Mum was here," she said. Fred didn't say anything. He just squeezed her arm. Leah was still feeling sensitive, and as she looked up her husband, she began to sing. "Kiss me goodnight, Sergeant Major. Tuck me in my little wooden bed. We all love you, Sergeant Major." "Stop it, you daft sod," Fred laughed. "It's platoon, Sergeant Major. I won't be gone 5 minutes and you'll be working in pants." "Why do you men have such a problem with women in pants?" she asked. "If I have to for work, then I'll wear them." "Told you," he laughed, then launched into a song himself. "Ain't she sweet? See her walking down that street. Yes, I ask you very confidentially, ain't she sweet?" Leah batted Fred on his arm. "You're very violent, you know," he said. "Has anyone told you that before?" "Yeah, but I hit 'em," she laughed. "Look at that," said Fred, pointing to a lamppost on which someone had attached a poster. "Wanted, Adolf Hitler." A group chatting away passed them. "Yesterday someone told me that Hitler had committed suicide," said one. "Well, that's not true, is it?" said another. "If he'd killed himself, Chamberlain wouldn't have declared war, and he wouldn't have dropped poison balloons on the Polish babies." "Who? Chamberlain?" asked the first. "No, Hitler," said the second. "I heard it was poisoned chocolate they were dropping on the babies," said a third. "I heard the bombs hadn't gone off and just contained goodwill messages from Slovak arms workers," said the first. "Someone told me today that some Germans had landed in Folkestone," fourth said. "Rubbish," laughed the second. "I don't believe it either," said the fourth. "But I do believe what they said about them transporting Turkish troops through Britain." "Worse things happen at sea," said Fred to Leah as they passed the group. Leah could see them staring at his uniform. It hadn't been easy being a professional soldier after the Great War with so much anti-war sentiment about. But his father had been a sergeant in the Royal Northumberland Fusiliers, and Fred had seen that as his destiny. He had enjoyed the time he served in India and Shanghai, and met Leah when he returned to England. She had worked in the Navy in Leeds, where he had a temporary posting. "I just thought they would come up with a solution," Leah mused. "I think we all did," said Fred. "But there's no magic wand for this one." "Pity," said Leah. "That's your lot for this time. Come back to the channel a bit later. Keep your eyes on the space, and I will be reading more from Fred and Leah and all the other books that you can see up here very soon. So good to see you, and hope to see you again soon. Cheerio.